Now let's begin. The morning sun cut through the kitchen window at an angle that Mitch Delgado had memorized over 10 years of marriage. He stood at the counter, pressing grounds into the espresso machine, while his son Danny ate cereal at the table, swinging his legs in that restless way 8-year-olds do. The house smelled like coffee and the faint vanilla of Jennifer's perfume. She'd already left for her morning run, same as every Tuesday. "Dad," Danny's voice had that careful tone kids use when they're about to say something they think might be important. "Yeah, buddy." Mitch pulled a double shot, the machine hissing. "Why does Mom have 2 phones?" Mitch's hand paused halfway to the cup. "What do you mean, 2 phones?" Danny shrugged, milk dripping from his spoon. "She has the regular one, the purple case. But there's another one. She keeps it in her boot. The brown one she wears." The espresso machine gurgled, filling the silence. Mitch turned, studying his son's face. Danny wasn't looking at him, just pushing Cheerios around his bowl with intense focus, the way he did when he'd said something he wasn't sure he should have. "In her boot," Mitch repeated slowly. "Yeah, she only uses it when you leave for work. I saw her once when I forgot my backpack. She was in your office, talking on it. She got really mad when she saw me." Danny finally looked up, his dark eyes, Mitch's eyes, uncertain. "Did I do something wrong? She told me not to tell you about grown-up stuff." Mitch felt something cold settle in his chest. He'd spent 15 years making documentary films, investigating corruption, exposing lies. He knew the weight of a secret when he heard one. "You didn't do anything wrong." He crossed to the table, ruffled Danny's hair. "Finish your breakfast. I've got to check something before I head to the office." His office was attached to the house, a converted garage where he edited his films, stored his equipment, conducted interviews. It was his sanctuary, and Jennifer rarely came in here. Said the clutter gave her anxiety. He didn't search her boots then. That would have been too obvious, too reactive. Instead, Mitch went through his morning routine exactly as he always did. Kissed Jennifer goodbye when she returned from her run, her skin glowing with exertion. Drove Danny to school. Headed toward his office building in downtown Portland where he met with clients and his business partner, Sean Stark. Sean was already there when Mitch arrived, coffee in hand, scrolling through his phone. They'd known each other since college, had built Veritas Films together from nothing into one of the most respected investigative documentary companies on the West Coast. Sean handled the business side. Mitch handled the creative. It worked. "Morning," Sean said without looking up. "We got the call back from Netflix. They want to move forward with the pharmaceutical piece." "That's great." Mitch dropped his bag on the desk, his mind elsewhere. "Listen, I need to head back home. Forgot some files." Sean glanced up, frowning. "The Peterson interview is in an hour. I'll be back. 20 minutes, tops." He made it back to the house in 12. Jennifer's car was in the driveway. She worked from home most days, running PR campaigns for tech startups. Mitch parked down the street, approached quietly. The front door was locked, but he had his key. He turned it slowly, eased inside. Silence. Then, from his office, Jennifer's voice. Low, intimate, laughing. "No, he just left. I told you Tuesdays are safe." I know. But Sean, we have to be patient. The timing has to be perfect." Mitch froze in the hallway, his hand still on the doorknob. Sean, his business partner, his best friend. Jennifer's voice continued, muffled through the door. "The Patterson footage is ready to go. I already sent it to Marcus at Chronicle Films. They're offering $40,000 for it. No, he has no idea. He trusts you completely. It's almost too easy." Mitch's jaw clenched. Patterson, that was his current project. 3 months of work, interviews with a whistleblower from a major pharmaceutical company. It wasn't finished yet, wasn't even fully edited. How the hell did Jennifer have access to it? "We stick to the plan," Jennifer said. 6 more months. We have enough to bury him. The ethics violation report goes to the documentary board. The custody filing goes through, and by the time he figures out what happened, we'll have Danny, the house, and the company. The words hit like physical blows. Mitch backed away from the door, his breath coming short. Every instinct screamed at him to burst in, to confront them both. But 15 years of investigative work had taught him patience. Evidence first, emotion later. He left the house as silently as he'd entered, drove around the block, then called his own landline from his cell. Jennifer picked up on the 3rd ring, her voice bright. "Hey honey, what's up? I left some hard drives at home. In my office. Can you grab them for me?" A pause. Just half a second too long. Sure. Which ones? The red Seagate drives. They should be on the shelf. Okay, I'll check. He heard her moving, the office door opening. Her breathing changed. She was looking for something that didn't exist. I don't see any red drives, Mitch. That's weird. Maybe I already took them. Thanks anyway, babe. He hung up. She'd been in his office. Had access to everything. And Sean knew his passwords, had keys to the office, had admin access to all their servers and files. Mitch sat in his car for a long moment, hands gripping the steering wheel. Then he called his lawyer, an old friend from his investigative journalism days. Carl McIntyre. Carl, it's Mitch Delgado. I need you to do something for me, and I need you to not ask questions yet. That sounds ominous. I need you to start compiling everything on my business partnership with Sean Stark. Every contract, every agreement, every digital footprint of our shared work. And I need you to look into my wife's financials. Quietly. Silence on the line. Then, Mitch, what's going on? I'll tell you everything. But first, I need to know what I'm dealing with. Over the next week, Mitch became a ghost in his own life. He went through the motions, dinners with Jennifer, meetings with Sean, dropping Danny at school. But every spare moment, he was investigating. He installed keylogger software on Jennifer's laptop, cloned her secret phone when she showered one morning, set up hidden cameras in his office. What he found was worse than he'd imagined. Jennifer and Sean's affair had started 18 months ago at a company retreat in Seattle. But the betrayal went deeper. They'd been systematically stealing his work, unfinished documentaries, interview footage, investigative leads, and selling them to competitors. Chronicle Films, Paradigm Pictures, even a streaming service had paid for content that Mitch had spent months developing. The money went into an offshore account in Jennifer's maiden name, Cordova. Over $400,000. But the real knife in the back was the plan Carl had uncovered through subpoenaed emails. Jennifer and Sean were building an ethics violation case against Mitch, claiming he'd fabricated interview footage, coerced sources, violated documentary standards. They'd forged emails, created fake paper trails, even had a source ready to testify that Mitch had paid for testimony. The plan was elegant in its cruelty. Destroy his reputation, file for divorce citing his professional misconduct, take custody of Danny by painting Mitch as unstable and unethical, then force the sale of Veritas Films at a fraction of its value. Sean would buy Mitch out for pennies, and Jennifer would walk away with Danny, the house, and half of everything else. Mitch sat in Carl's office, watching the lawyer's face grow darker as he reviewed the evidence. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, Carl said quietly. Corporate espionage. This could put them both in prison. I don't want them in prison, Mitch said. Not yet. Carl looked up, sharp. What do you want? Mitch leaned back in his chair, his mind already working through the possibilities. He'd spent his career exposing liars and cheats, watching them crumble when their secrets came to light. He knew how to destroy someone. But this was personal. This was his wife, his best friend, his son's mother, and they were planning to take Danny. I want to disappear, Mitch said slowly. I want them to think they've won, and then I want to burn their entire world to the ground. Carl studied him for a long moment. You're talking about leaving, taking Danny. They're planning to take him anyway, painting me as an unfit father. Mitch's voice was cold, controlled. I won't let that happen, and I won't let them profit off my work, my reputation, my life. If you run with Danny without custody, that's kidnapping. Not if I have evidence she's an unfit mother. Not if I have proof of fraud, adultery, conspiracy. Mitch tapped the folder between them. You said it yourself. This could put them in prison. I just need to time it right. What's your plan? Mitch smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to document everything. Build an airtight case. And when the time is right, I'm going to expose them both in a way they'll never recover from. He went home that night and acted like nothing had changed. Kissed Jennifer hello. Helped Danny with his homework. Had dinner with Sean and his girlfriend Ruby Pope at their favorite Italian restaurant, laughing at jokes while Sean's hand kept disappearing under the table to check his phone, probably texting Jennifer. But when Mitch went to bed, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to Jennifer's breathing beside him. Planning, calculating, waiting. The next Tuesday morning, Mitch kissed Jennifer goodbye as usual, dropped Danny at school. But instead of going to the office, he drove back home and parked 3 blocks away. He texted Sean, food poisoning. taking the day off. Then he walked back to his house, let himself in quietly through the back door, and crouched in the hallway outside his office, waiting. At 9:15, Jennifer's voice drifted through the door, laughing, intimate, talking to Sean on that secret phone. "I can't wait until this is over," she was saying. "No more sneaking around. No more pretending to care about his boring documentary subjects or his precious ethics." Mitch recorded every word. 43 minutes of conversation. Detailed planning. Jennifer describing how she'd manipulate Danny, tell him his father was unstable. Sean laughing about how easy it had been to access Mitch's files, to forge his emails. When Jennifer finally ended the call, Mitch slipped out the back door and drove to Danny's school. He texted the office, still sick, taking a few days. Then he picked up his son early, claiming a family emergency. "Where are we going?" Danny asked, buckling into the passenger seat. Mitch looked at his son, 8 years old, innocent, trusting. He thought of Jennifer's voice. "We'll tell Danny his father is unstable. We're going on an adventure, buddy," Mitch said quietly. "How do you feel about seeing some new places?" Danny's eyes lit up. "Like a road trip?" Exactly like a road trip. Mitch had already packed bags, clothes, cash, laptops, hard drives with encrypted copies of all his evidence. He'd emptied half the joint bank accounts, transferred funds to an account Jennifer didn't know about. Carl had divorce papers ready to file. They drove east, out of Portland, into the wide emptiness of eastern Oregon. Mitch didn't look back. Behind them, Jennifer would come home to an empty house. Sean would find a note at the office, taking some time with Danny. "We'll be in touch." But Mitch had no intention of being in touch. Not yet. Not until he was ready. Not until he'd built his revenge into something beautiful and terrible and absolutely inevitable. The town of Brightvale, Montana, had a population of 4,000 people, one stoplight, and enough distance from Portland to feel like another world. Mitch rented a small house on the edge of town under his middle name, James Oliver. Cash only. No paper trail. Danny adjusted faster than Mitch expected. Kids were resilient that way. Mitch enrolled him in the local elementary school as Danny Oliver. Told the principal they were starting fresh after a difficult divorce. The town was small enough that people didn't ask too many questions, but friendly enough that they brought casseroles and welcomed the quiet man and his son. Mitch set up a small office in the second bedroom. 3 computers, satellite internet, encrypted servers. He'd brought external hard drives containing years of work, not just the Patterson project, but everything. His entire career, backed up and hidden. At night, after Danny was asleep, Mitch worked. He started with the obvious, documenting Jennifer and Sean's affair, cataloging every stolen file, tracing every dollar they'd made selling his work. But he went deeper. He investigated Chronicle Films, the company that had bought his Patterson footage. Discovered they'd been tipped off by Sean about other projects too. Paradigm Pictures had a standing arrangement. Sean fed them information about Mitch's investigations, and they paid handsomely. But the real revelation came 3 weeks after they'd arrived in Brightvale. Mitch was tracing Sean's financial records. Carl had provided access through creative legal maneuvering when he found something that made him pause. A series of payments from an LLC called Cordova Consulting, Jennifer's company. Except it wasn't a PR firm like she'd claimed. Cordova Consulting was a front. Jennifer had been running an industrial espionage operation for 2 years, using Mitch's investigative work to identify targets, then selling information to corporations who wanted to know what whistleblowers might talk, what documentaries might expose them. She'd made over $1 million. And she'd used Mitch's own work to do it. His interviews, his sources, his carefully cultivated relationships, all weaponized and sold to the highest bidder. Mitch sat back from his computer, a cold fury settling over him. This wasn't just adultery. This wasn't just theft. Jennifer had turned his life's work into a commodity, putting sources at risk, derailing investigations that could have exposed real corruption. His phone buzzed. A text from Carl. They filed for divorce 2 days ago, claiming abandonment, seeking full custody and restraining order. We need to respond. Mitch typed back. Not yet. Let them think they're winning. How long can you stall? Month. Maybe 2. After that, you risk losing custody rights permanently. 1 month is all I need. He had a plan now. A real one. And it was bigger than just exposing an affair. The next morning, Mitch called an old colleague, Corey Johnson, an investigative journalist who'd worked with him on 3 documentaries and now ran his own independent news site. They'd exposed a senator together, brought down a pharmaceutical CEO. Corey was relentless, ethical to a fault, and he owed Mitch a favor. Mitch Delgado. Corey's voice was warm with surprise. Man, where the hell have you been? Sean said you'd had some kind of breakdown. Sean's lying. About a lot of things. Mitch kept his voice level. I need your help with something. But I need you to trust me and not ask questions yet. Corey was quiet for a moment. You working on something? The biggest story of my career. Corporate espionage, fraud, corruption. And it involves people close to me. How close? As close as it gets. Another pause. Then, what do you need? I need you to start investigating Cordova Consulting. Quietly. Follow the money, trace the clients, document everything. I'll feed you information, but you can't reveal the source. Not yet. You're the source. I'm the source. But Corey, when this breaks, it's going to be big. Pulitzer-level big. And I need someone I trust to tell the story right. Corey whistled low. You've got my attention. Send me what you have. Mitch spent the next 2 weeks feeding Corey information in carefully measured doses. Names of corporations that had paid Cordova Consulting. Proof that Jennifer had accessed confidential documentary footage. Evidence of sources being compromised. Investigations being derailed. Corey started publishing pieces on his site. Nothing too obvious at first, just questions. A shadowy consulting firm with ties to the documentary industry. Sources report information leaks from major investigative projects. Corporations paying millions to stay ahead of whistleblowers. The stories gained traction. Other journalists started asking questions. Chronicle Films issued a statement denying any wrongdoing. Paradigm Pictures went silent. And in Portland, Mitch knew Jennifer and Sean were starting to panic. He was proven right when his phone rang. A number he didn't recognize, but the area code was Portland. Mitch. Sean's voice, tight with strain. We need to talk. About what? About this mess. These stories. Someone's leaking information about our company, about our projects. We need to get ahead of it. Our company? Mitch kept his voice neutral. I'm not part of the company anymore, Sean. Remember? You guys are divorcing me out of it. Look, Jennifer might have overreacted. The abandonment thing, taking Danny. If you come back, we can work this out. As friends. As partners. Mitch smiled in the darkness of his Montana office. Friends don't steal from each other, Sean. Partners don't fuck each other's wives. Silence. Then, I know everything. The affair. The stolen footage. Cordova Consulting. The ethics violation frame job. All of it. Mitch, if you go public with this. What? You'll ruin me? You've already tried that. Filed a fake ethics complaint, forged emails, tried to paint me as unstable. How's that working out for you? Sean's breathing was ragged. What do you want? I want you to understand something, Mitch said quietly. You tried to take my son, my career, my reputation. You used my work to enrich yourself and put sources at risk. And you thought I'd just what? Roll over and let it happen. We can make a deal. Jennifer and I will drop the divorce, drop the custody. It's too late for deals. The story's already out there. Corey Johnson is just getting started. And when he's done, everyone will know exactly what you and Jennifer did. You sanctimonious bastard, Sean hissed. You think you're so much better than everyone else. So ethical. So pure. But you're just a hypocrite who spies on his own wife. I investigated criminals. Turns out my wife and business partner were criminals. Funny how that works. Mitch ended the call. His hands were shaking. He stared at the phone, then at the wall of evidence he'd assembled. Photos, documents, recordings, financial records. A complete map of Jennifer and Sean's betrayal. But he wasn't done. Not yet. The final piece of his revenge required patience. And it required getting them to make one last, fatal mistake. Mitch had been in Bright Vale for 6 weeks when Jennifer finally called. Not from the secret phone, from her regular number. Her voice was small, scared. Nothing like the confident woman who'd plotted his destruction. Mitch, please. We need to talk about Danny. He needs his mother. He has a father who actually cares about him. These stories, these accusations. Mitch, I don't know what you think you know. I know you made over $1 million selling my investigative work to corporations. I know you and Sean stole footage, forged documents, planned to frame me for ethics violations. Mitch's voice was ice. I know you were going to take my son and destroy my career. Jennifer was crying now. Real tears or performance? Mitch couldn't tell anymore. Maybe there was no difference. I made mistakes. I know I did. But we can fix this. For Danny's sake. He needs both his parents. Danny needs parents who don't lie to him. Who don't betray the people they claim to love. Please. Her voice broke. Mitch, I'm begging you. Come back. We'll go to counseling. We'll work through this. Just stop feeding information to that journalist. Stop destroying my reputation. Your reputation? Mitch laughed, bitter. Jennifer, you destroyed your own reputation. You just didn't expect to get caught. I'll do anything. Just please stop. And there it was. The desperation he'd been waiting for. Because desperate people made mistakes. And Mitch needed Jennifer to make one more mistake. Okay, he said slowly. Maybe we can work something out. But I need to know everything. No more lies. You tell me the complete truth about Cordova Consulting, about everyone involved, and maybe, I'll consider calling off Corey. Yes, anything. When? I'll come to Portland next week. But Jennifer, if you're lying to me, if this is some kind of trap, it's not. I swear. I just want my son back. I just want our family back. Mitch hung up and immediately called Carl. She took the bait. Mitch said, get ready. And make sure you record everything. Mitch, are you sure about this? If she's setting you up, she's not smart enough to set me up anymore. She's panicking. And panicking people confess. Carl was quiet for a moment. You've changed, man. This revenge thing, it's consuming you. They tried to take my son, Carl. They tried to destroy everything I built. I'm not consumed. I'm focused. Just be careful. Don't become the villain in your own story. Mitch thought about that after the call ended. Was he the villain? He'd left his wife, taken his son across state lines, orchestrated a media campaign to destroy Jennifer and Sean's reputations. But they'd struck first. They'd betrayed him, stolen from him, planned to frame him. He looked at the bedroom where Danny slept. His son had adjusted well to Brightvale, made friends at school, joined a soccer team. He asked about Jennifer sometimes, but less and less. Kids were resilient, but they also needed stability. And Mitch would provide that stability. After he finished what Jennifer and Sean had started. The following Tuesday, Mitch flew to Portland. He left Danny with a trusted neighbor in Brightvale, Nellie Singh, a retired teacher who'd become a friend. He'd told Danny it was a work trip, would only be a few days. Carl met him at the airport with a rental car and a digital recorder no bigger than a pen. She wants to meet at the house, Carl said. Your house. Says it'll be more comfortable, more private. She wants home field advantage. Mitch checked the recorder. Doesn't matter. As long as we get the confession. And then what? Then we file everything with the Documentary Ethics Board, the state bar if Sean's involved in legal fraud, and we give Corey Johnson the exclusive. Complete exposure. And Jennifer? You're really going to destroy the mother of your child? Mitch's jaw tightened. She was going to destroy the father of her child. Turnabout is fair play. The house looked the same. Jennifer answered the door, and for a moment, Mitch felt a flash of the life they'd had. 10 years of marriage. Danny's first steps in that living room. Anniversary dinners at the table visible through the doorway. Then he remembered her voice on that recording. It's almost too easy. Thank you for coming, Jennifer said. She looked thinner, darker circles under her eyes. Can I get you coffee? This isn't a social call, Jennifer. They sat in the living room. Mitch on the chair, Jennifer on the couch. The recorder was in Mitch's jacket pocket, already running. I'll tell you everything, Jennifer said. But I need to know Danny's okay first. I need to know my son is safe. He's safe. He's happy. He asks about you less and less each day. Jennifer flinched. That's cruel. No. Cruel is planning to paint me as an unfit father so you could take full custody. Cruel is selling my work to the very corporations I was trying to expose. Cruel is carrying on an affair with my best friend while sleeping in my bed. You're right. Jennifer's voice was small. You're right about all of it. I was angry. I felt neglected. You were always working, always chasing the next story. Sean paid attention to me. He made me feel. I don't care about your justifications. Mitch cut her off. I care about facts. When did Cordova Consulting start? Jennifer took a breath. 2 years ago. After that documentary you did on the pharma company. I realized something. You were doing all this work, exposing these corporations, but we weren't making any real money from it. The documentaries paid, but not enough. Not for the hours you put in. So you decided to monetize my investigations by warning the targets. I thought of it as insurance. A safety net. If you knew what whistleblowers were going to say, what evidence they had, you could prepare. You could contain the damage. You destroyed investigations that could have helped people. Expose corruption. I made $1 million. Jennifer's voice rose. $1 million, Mitch. More than you made in 5 years of your precious ethical documentaries. And I did it using information you were going to make public anyway. Except I wasn't going to make it all public. Some of it was preparation, research, context. You sold out sources, Jennifer. People who trusted me. People who risked their careers to speak truth. She looked away. I know it was wrong. But by the time I realized how deep I was, Sean and I. Sean. Mitch leaned forward. Let's talk about Sean. When did he get involved? From the beginning. It was his idea, actually. He had contacts at Chronicle Films, at Paradigm. He could move the footage without raising suspicions. I handled the consulting clients. He handled the media sales. And the ethics violation frame? Jennifer was crying again. That was after you started getting suspicious. Sean noticed you were checking the servers more often, asking questions about file access. We panicked. We thought if we could discredit you first, before you figured out what we'd done, you'd win. Mitch's voice was flat. You'd get Danny, get the house, force me to sell my half of the company for nothing, and Sean would take over Veritas Films. Yes. Say it clearly. For the record. Jennifer looked up, her eyes red. What? I want you to state clearly that you and Sean Stark conspired to steal my work, sell it to corporations and competing documentary companies, and then frame me for ethics violations to gain custody of our son and force the sale of my business. Say it. Understanding dawned on her face. You're recording this. Of course I'm recording this. I document everything, Jennifer. You should know that by now. She stood up abruptly. You bastard. This was a setup. No more than your whole marriage was a setup. At least I'm honest about my intentions. I'll deny it. All of it. You can't use this recording. It's illegal to record someone without their consent in Oregon. Mitch smiled. Actually, Oregon is a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows about the recording, and I do, it's perfectly legal. You'd know that if you were actually a PR professional instead of a corporate spy. Jennifer's face went white. You son of a bitch. I want the rest. I want every name of every corporation you sold information to. Every documentary you compromised. Everything. Or what? You'll play this recording for a judge? They'll still give me visitation rights. I'm still Danny's mother. No. Mitch stood up. I'm going to play this recording for Corey Johnson, along with all the financial records, all the evidence of your espionage operation, all the proof that you and Sean systematically betrayed sources and derailed investigations. And then I'm going to let the whole world see exactly who you are. You can't. Mitch, please. You tried to take my son, my career, my life, and you thought I'd just let it happen. Mitch headed for the door. You were wrong. Wait. Jennifer grabbed his arm. Please. I'll confess to everything. I'll testify against Sean. Just don't destroy me publicly. Think about Danny. Think about what this will do to him. Mitch looked at her hand on his arm, then at her face. For a moment, he saw the woman he'd married. The woman who'd laughed at his jokes, who'd held Danny in the hospital, who'd believed in his work. Then he remembered her voice. We'll tell Danny his father is unstable. He pulled his arm free. You should have thought about Danny before you decided to betray his father. Goodbye, Jennifer. He walked out of the house and didn't look back. The exposé dropped on a Thursday morning. Corey Johnson's site published it first. Documentary industry rocked by espionage scandal. Complete with recordings, financial records, and interviews with sources who'd been compromised by Jennifer's operation. By noon, it was picked up by major news outlets. By evening, it was trending on social media. By Friday morning, the Documentary Ethics Board had launched a formal investigation, and 3 corporations named in the report were facing lawsuits from whistleblowers whose identities had been exposed. Sean Stark released a statement denying everything, then deleted his social media accounts 6 hours later. Chronicle Films announced an internal investigation. Paradigm Pictures issued a vague statement about reviewing business practices. And Jennifer's phone, according to Carl's sources, didn't stop ringing. Journalists, lawyers, former clients demanding explanations. Mitch watched it all from Brightvale, Montana. He didn't feel triumphant. He didn't feel vindicated. He felt tired. Danny came into the office, holding a soccer ball. "Dad, can we go to the park?" Mitch looked at his son, 8 years old, resilient, trusting, innocent of the war his parents had waged. "Yeah, buddy, let's go to the park." They spent the afternoon kicking the ball around, Danny chattering about school, about his friends, about the upcoming soccer tournament. He didn't ask about Jennifer, didn't ask about Portland. He'd adapted to their new life with the easy flexibility of childhood. But that night, after Danny was asleep, Mitch's phone rang. "Carl, you need to see this," Carl said. "Sean's lawyer just released a statement. He's claiming Jennifer acted alone. Says he was an unwitting participant, that she manipulated him, used the affair to gain access to company files. He's throwing her under the bus. Completely. And the preliminary ethics investigation? They're finding evidence Sean may have been stealing from the company even before the affair. Skimming profits, falsifying expense reports. Jennifer's espionage operation might have been covering for Sean's embezzlement." Mitch felt something cold settle in his chest. "How much? Preliminary estimate? Over $300,000 over 4 years. Jesus. There's more. Jennifer's been trying to call you. 17 times today. She left a voicemail. Said she's willing to give you full custody if you'll help her fight back against Sean. Says he's the real villain. She was just trying to survive an abusive relationship." Mitch laughed bitterly. "Now she wants my help. What do you want to do?" What did he want? Revenge? He'd gotten that. Justice? That was coming. Criminal investigations, lawsuits, professional ruin for both Jennifer and Sean. His reputation was being restored as the truth came out. Veritas Films was his again, with Sean forced to resign in disgrace. But it all felt hollow. "Tell Jennifer's lawyer I'll agree to full custody," Mitch said quietly. "In exchange for a complete confession, everything she did, everything Sean did, full cooperation with all investigations. And she maintains supervised visitation rights with Danny. That's generous, considering what she did. It's not for her. It's for Danny. He deserves to have a mother, even if she's a deeply flawed one. And maybe someday, when he's older, he'll understand that I didn't destroy his mother out of hatred. I just refused to let her destroy me." Carl was quiet for a moment. "You're a better man than I'd be in your position. I'm just tired, Carl. I want this to be over." 2 weeks later, Mitch sat in a conference room in Portland, surrounded by lawyers. Jennifer was across the table, pale and drawn. Sean wasn't there. His lawyer had advised against any contact pending criminal investigation. They signed papers. Jennifer confessed to everything, provided evidence against Sean, agreed to full custody with supervised visitation. Mitch agreed to drop any civil lawsuit against her personally, though he was pursuing action against Cordova Consulting. When it was done, Jennifer asked to speak to him privately. They stood in the hallway, lawyers hovering nearby. "I'm sorry," Jennifer said. "For all of it. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I need you to know. I'm sorry." Mitch studied her face, searching for sincerity, for genuine remorse. He found something. Maybe regret, maybe just fear of consequences. "I want to believe you," he said finally. "For Danny's sake, I want to believe you're capable of being the mother he deserves. Can I see him? The supervised visitation, when can it start?" "When you've completed the court-mandated therapy. When you can prove you're stable. And when Danny's ready." Is he angry at me?" Mitch thought about his son, playing soccer in Montana, sleeping soundly in a town 1,000 miles from this mess. "No," he said. "He's not angry. He's just adjusting, building a new life. One day, when he's older, I'll tell him the truth. All of it. But right now, he just needs stability. He needs to feel safe." Jennifer nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. For not completely destroying me. For leaving room for me to be his mother someday. Don't thank me. Just do better. Be better. For him." Mitch left Portland that evening. Flew back to Montana, back to the small house on the edge of Brightvale. Nellie Singh had made dinner. Lasagna, Danny's favorite. His son chattered about the soccer tournament, about a friend's birthday party on Saturday. Normal life. Simple life. Safe life. But 3 months later, on a cold November morning, Mitch's phone rang with an unfamiliar Portland number. "Mr. Delgado? This is Detective Ernest Schneider with Portland Police. We need to speak with you about Sean Stark and Jennifer Delgado." "What about them?" "Sean Stark was found dead this morning. Apparent suicide. And Jennifer Delgado is missing." The world tilted. Mitch sat down hard in his office chair. "What do you mean, missing?" She didn't show up for her supervised visitation yesterday. Her apartment was empty, cleared out. Her car was found at the airport, but there's no record of her boarding any flight. We have reason to believe she may try to contact you, possibly attempt to take your son. Danny's safe. He's with me in Montana. Keep him close, Mr. Delgado. And if Jennifer contacts you, call us immediately. Mitch ended the call, his mind racing. Sean dead. Jennifer disappeared. The revenge that had seemed so complete, so final, suddenly felt unfinished. He called Carl, then Corey, then the Brightvale police. Warned Danny's school. Set up security cameras. For the first time since leaving Portland, Mitch felt afraid. Because he'd documented everything about Jennifer and Sean's crimes. But he'd forgotten to document the most important thing. What desperate people do when they have nothing left to lose. That night, Mitch sat in Danny's room, watching his son sleep. The boy's face was peaceful, innocent, unaware that his mother was somewhere out there, possibly planning something. Mitch's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You took everything from me. My reputation, my career, my son. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? Jennifer. Mitch's hands tightened on the phone. He'd won the war, exposed the betrayal, secured custody of his son. But the battle, it seemed, wasn't over. He typed back, "Where are you?" The response came immediately. "Closer than you think." Mitch stood up, moved to the window. The street was dark, quiet. Normal Montana night. But somewhere out there, Jennifer was watching. Waiting. And Mitch realized with cold certainty that his revenge had created something more dangerous than betrayal. A desperate woman with nothing left to lose and everything to blame on him. He'd built his case perfectly, executed his revenge flawlessly. But he'd forgotten the most important rule of investigative work. Always consider what happens after the exposure. The story wasn't over. And the final chapter was about to begin. Morning came with frost on the windows and Danny bouncing into Mitch's room at 6:30, ready for Saturday soccer practice. Mitch had been awake all night, staring at that text message, running scenarios. He'd installed additional locks on the doors, charged his phone, kept it close. "Dad, you look tired," Danny observed, already in his soccer uniform. "Didn't sleep great, buddy. But I'm fine." Mitch forced a smile. "How about pancakes before practice?" In the kitchen, Mitch kept his phone on the counter while he cooked, watching for messages. Nothing. Jennifer had gone silent after that last text, which somehow felt worse than threats. Detective Schneider called at 7. "We found something," he said without preamble. Jennifer withdrew $20,000 in cash from a bank account we didn't know about 3 days before she disappeared. And we've been reviewing Sean Stark's death. It's looking less like suicide now. Mitch's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" Forensics found evidence of a struggle. And the suicide note was typed, not handwritten. "We're now treating this as a potential homicide. You think Jennifer killed him. We think it's a possibility. Mr. Delgado, I need you to understand how serious this is. If Jennifer is capable of murder, and she blames you for destroying her life, she could come after me." Mitch looked at Danny, happily eating pancakes. "Or after my son. We're coordinating with Montana authorities. I've already spoken to your local police chief. They're going to increase patrols in your area. But you need to be vigilant." After the call, Mitch made a decision. He called his neighbor, Nellie Singh. "Nellie, I need a favor. A big one. Can Danny stay with you for a few days? There's a situation with my ex-wife, and I need to know he's completely safe." To her credit, Nellie didn't ask many questions. Just, "Is he in danger?" "I don't know. But I'm not taking chances." Danny protested. He wanted to go to soccer practice, see his friends. But Mitch was firm. "It's just for a few days, buddy. Like a sleepover at Miss Singh's. She said you can help her bake cookies." That won Danny over. Kids were resilient, but also easily distracted by the promise of cookies. Once Danny was safely at Nellie's, Mitch had checked every lock, every window, confirmed she had the local police on speed dial. He went back to his house and waited. He didn't have to wait long. At 2 in the afternoon, there was a knock on the door. Mitch checked the security camera he'd installed, and there was Jennifer. She looked different. Hair cut short and dyed dark. Sunglasses despite the overcast day. Thinner than she'd been even at the custody hearing. Mitch called the police first. Then he opened the door, staying in the doorway. "Jennifer, can I come in? I just want to talk." "The police are on their way." She laughed, but it was a broken sound. "Of course they are. You always were thorough, Mitch. Always 3 steps ahead." Did you kill Sean? Jennifer's face went blank. What? The police say Sean's death wasn't suicide. That there was evidence of a struggle. And you disappeared right after. Did you kill him? Sean killed himself because he was a coward. Jennifer's voice was flat. When the ethics investigation started finding his embezzlement, when the criminal probe began, he couldn't handle it. He called me the night before he died. Said it was all my fault, that I destroyed everything. Then he hung up. Next morning, he was dead. Where have you been? Running. Hiding. Trying to figure out what to do. She took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. You won, Mitch. You completely destroyed me. My career is over. I'm probably going to prison for the corporate espionage. I've lost my son. I have nothing. You did this to yourself. You and Sean. I know. Jennifer's voice cracked. I know what I did. I know it was wrong. But did I deserve this? Complete annihilation? You didn't just expose me. You orchestrated my total destruction. You turned it into a crusade. You were going to take Danny. Frame me as an unfit father. Steal everything I'd worked for. And you made sure everyone in the world knew what I'd done. You didn't just win. You needed me to lose spectacularly. Jennifer was crying now. The media painted me as a monster. My own family won't talk to me. I can't get a job anywhere. My name is toxic. Mitch heard sirens in the distance. Why are you here, Jennifer? I wanted to see your face. I wanted you to see what you did. You say I destroyed myself, but you're the one who lit the match and watched me burn. You documented every moment of it. I expose criminals. That's what I do. I was your wife, the mother of your son, and you treated me like just another corrupt target in one of your documentaries. The police arrived, 2 cars for officers. Jennifer didn't resist. She held out her wrists for the handcuffs, her eyes never leaving Mitch's face. I hope it was worth it, she said as they led her away. Your perfect revenge. Your complete victory. I hope it was worth Danny growing up knowing his father destroyed his mother. The words hit harder than Mitch expected. He watched them drive away, Jennifer's face visible through the back window of the police car. Detective Schneider stayed behind. We'll need a full statement. And the text she sent you. Mitch provided everything. The detective took notes, asked follow-up questions, confirmed Danny's location for safety. For what it's worth, Schneider said as he was leaving, you did the right thing. People like that, they count on their victims staying quiet. You didn't stay quiet. But as Mitch closed the door, locked it, and stood alone in his house, he wondered if the detective was right. He'd won. Completely, utterly, devastatingly. Jennifer was facing criminal charges. Sean was dead. Veritas Films was his again. He had full custody of Danny. His reputation in the documentary world was restored, enhanced, even. He was already fielding calls about a potential documentary about his own experience, the ultimate betrayal, one man's fight against corporate espionage. He'd won. So why did he feel like he'd lost something essential? That night, Mitch lay awake in the same bed where he'd planned Jennifer's downfall, where he'd meticulously documented every piece of evidence, crafted every step of his revenge. His phone buzzed. A message from Corey Johnson. The story about Jennifer's arrest is everywhere. They're calling you a hero. The documentary board wants you to keynote their ethics conference. Netflix is interested in your story. This is huge, Mitch. You did it. Hero. The word felt wrong. Heroes didn't systematically destroy someone, even someone who deserved it. Heroes didn't orchestrate public humiliation. Heroes didn't turn revenge into performance art. But villains did. Mitch sat up in bed, his mind racing back through everything he'd done. The surveillance. The recordings. The calculated release of information to Corey. The way he'd baited Jennifer into a confession. The public exposure. It had all been justified. She'd betrayed him, stolen from him, tried to take his son. She deserved consequences. But had she deserved this? Complete and total annihilation? He thought about Danny, 7 years in the future, old enough to understand. Dad, why did you destroy Mom? Why didn't you just divorce her, take custody, move on? Why did you have to make her into a national scandal? What would he say? Because she tried to destroy me first? Because revenge felt good? Because he could? Mitch got out of bed, went to his office, looked at the wall of evidence he'd assembled. Photos, documents, recordings. The architecture of his revenge, preserved like a trophy. With sudden decision, he began taking it down. Every document, every photo. He put it all in a box, sealed it, labeled it simply. Case closed. Then he called Carl. I need you to do something for me, Mitch said. I need you to work out a deal with Jennifer's lawyers. She cooperates fully with all investigations, she gets therapy, she works toward being a good mother to Danny. In exchange, I'll provide a statement supporting a reduced sentence. I'll testify about her mental state, the pressure she was under, her genuine remorse. Mitch, are you sure? After everything she did. I'm sure. She was wrong. She deserves consequences. But she doesn't deserve to have her entire life destroyed. And Danny doesn't deserve to grow up knowing his father turned his mother into a cautionary tale. Carl was quiet for a long moment. You're a better man than most people would be. No. I'm just a father who doesn't want his son to be ashamed of him. The legal process took months. Jennifer pleaded guilty to corporate espionage, fraud, and obstruction of justice. But with Mitch's testimony about the toxic relationship with Sean, about the pressures she'd faced, about her genuine remorse, the sentence was reduced. 3 years, eligible for parole and 18 months with good behavior. Sean's death was ruled a suicide after all. The struggle was apparently his last moments of hesitation, the typed note explained by his injured hand from a workshop accident days before. The embezzlement investigation revealed he'd stolen over $400,000, had been deep in gambling debt, and had used the affair with Jennifer to mask his own crimes. Jennifer had been a victim of Sean's manipulation almost as much as Mitch had been. Almost. The documentary world moved on. Veritas Films thrived. Mitch threw himself into new projects, real investigations that exposed real corruption. He turned down the offers to document his own story. Some wounds didn't need to be reopened for entertainment. And Danny grew, adapted, thrived. He visited Jennifer once a month in a minimum security facility where she was enrolled in educational programs, therapy, learning to be better. On Danny's 10th birthday, Mitch took him camping in the Montana wilderness. They sat by a fire, roasting marshmallows, talking about nothing and everything. Dad, Danny's voice was thoughtful. Can I ask you something about Mom? Mitch's chest tightened. Sure, buddy. Why did she do those bad things? The stealing and lying and stuff? How to explain adult failures to a child. How to be honest without destroying Danny's image of his mother. Sometimes, Mitch said carefully, people make bad choices. Usually because they're scared or angry, or they convince themselves the bad choice is somehow justified. Your mom made bad choices. But that doesn't mean she's a bad person. Just a person who did bad things. Like you did with the revenge. Mitch looked at his son, surprised. What do you mean? I heard stuff. Other kids at school, their parents talking. About how you exposed Mom. How you made her famous for being bad. That was kind of like revenge, right? Out of the mouths of babes. Mitch took a breath. Yeah, he admitted. It was revenge. I was hurt and angry, and I wanted everyone to know what she'd done to me. To us. Do you regret it? Did he? Mitch thought about Jennifer in prison, about Sean dead, about the life they'd all had before betrayal twisted it into something ugly and unrecognizable. I regret that it was necessary, he said finally. I don't regret protecting you. I don't regret stopping people who were doing wrong. But I regret that I let anger drive me further than I needed to go. I should have been content with justice. Instead, I went for total victory. And that wasn't my best moment. Danny was quiet, processing. Then, but you helped her after, right? You said nice things to the judge, so she didn't go to prison forever. I did. So you fixed it. Kind of. Mitch smiled at his son. The important thing is learning from mistakes. Your mom's learning. I'm learning. We're all just trying to be better. I want to be better than both of you, Danny said seriously. Like, not make revenge or steal or anything. Just be good from the start. Mitch pulled his son close. You're already better than both of us, buddy. And that's exactly how it should be. They sat there as the fire burned down, father and son, survivors of a war neither had wanted. Behind them, the past, betrayal and revenge and consequences. Ahead, the future, uncertain but no longer shadowed by secrets. Mitch had won his war, but in the quiet of the Montana wilderness, watching his son's face glow in the firelight, he realized victory looked different than he'd imagined. It wasn't Jennifer in prison or Sean dead or his reputation restored. Victory was Danny, whole and healthy and good. Danny, who could look at his parents' failures and choose to be better. Danny, who could forgive without forgetting, who could love while understanding that love didn't mean blindness to faults. That was the win that mattered. The only one that would last. And for the first time since that morning when Danny had mentioned a secret phone, Mitch felt something like peace. The revenge had been earned. The victory had been earned. But the real triumph was choosing, eventually, to be more than his anger. To be the father his son deserved, not just the wronged husband seeking justice. Mitch Delgado had won. And in winning, he'd learned the difference between victory and vengeance. Between justice and cruelty. Between being right and being good. It was a lesson learned late, at tremendous cost. But it was learned. And in the end, that mattered most. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.